beauty or inspire artists. And the same in music, for example, the serialism in contemporary music is using mathematics to do composition. And but not only that, I mean, when you have new materials, when you have new technology, you can invent new forms of expression. Like in music, I like the example of the piano, when we were able to make strong structures of steel and that can handle high tension. We were able to make instruments that would sound louder, and so we could. That's how we made the piano, and it's possible. It was possible then to have it in a concert hall with more instruments because it was louder, and it was before amplification. So this enables new instruments, new contexts to use music and to play with it. The same for the theremin. It was the first electrical instrument, or synthesizers also. With electricity, we were able to make new instruments, and this will inspire artists to make new form of art and to reinvent maybe their discipline. There are many examples. I won't go through all of them. Architecture is a nice example and a nice analogy with what we are doing in this field, because architects have dreams and they need engineers to realize them. But I think it's interesting to viewing this history to think about what's different today. So what do we, what's different today? So today we are in the digital age. So we are working in a field that is evolving a lot. There's an explosion of technology, of possibilities, and this is both something very exciting and maybe scary sometimes, or it's difficult to define what is an artist or how you feel as an artist, how technology can influence you. But also it's a very exciting thing because of all what it enables, like collaborative works, or we have access to online communities, tutorials. So you can be an artist, you can develop your art by your own. You don't have, I mean, the way you can teach yourself some techniques, and you can make your home studio if you're a musician. You can make your own cartoon or your own video, your own film all by yourself with your computer. So that's a big change, I think. And well, that's a very open discussion. I won't go into a lot of details, but for us also what's very interesting in this space, information and digital age, is that we have access to a lot of information, a lot of tools, a lot of technologies that were limited to the industry before. Like we have an explosion of possible things. That's very exciting to be a developer and a programmer in that now, because we have really access to a lot of possibilities, and every day there are new things coming up, new microcontrollers, new software. And it's nice to think about how this can be used for art. So we're going to now talk a bit more about what we do in ourselves.
So ourselves, yes, we get into some stereotypes sometimes, and it's funny to think that some people imagine us like this, and we imagine ourselves a bit like this, actually, to be true. But in the real life, we are creative engineers and we are technology artisans. Basically, we get confronted in situations. Some artists came with an idea or something, and we have some knowledge about what's possible, what is possible to do, what is possible to create, what technology exists, what software exists, and depending on that, we think about what's the best solution, and we propose ideas, and sometimes we arrive at the really end of the project, but sometimes at the really beginning of it, in the conception sides, and we propose idea, and so going back about how the artists think, what the result, what's the feeling he wants to give, and what kind of solution we can propose. And sometimes the solution is very fast and easy, and sometimes the solution is not on the market. There's nothing to do that today, and this is how we, working together, we create new kinds of expression, because of the inputs of the artist, we get to think about how to find solution, and we propose different kinds of solutions, and then the artists decide, oh, and oh, yes, we can do that, and then the ideas flows, and it's very exciting for both. And sometimes we have to create our own PCB. Sometimes we have to make our own softwares to control it. Our focus is on the artistic side of the work. So our main goal is, usually on events, we have very few days on site because every day is really expensive. And we don't want to arrive on site and say, oh, we have these technical issues, and spending the whole 1 week, 3 days to correct those issues. So we want the artist to be able to arrive and focus on his art and see the results, because obviously seeing a computer simulation is good, and it's already one path, but on site with the scale of the work, it changed the whole perception of everything. So we try to think, usually we think a lot in advance about what would be the issues, what the issue possible, the export of format, which company. Sometimes there is a lot of intermediary people, so sometimes we don't have long enough, the information we need about who's going to process the installation. So we say, okay, most of the time it's better for us to create our own softwares, because then we can easily make any kind of format of exportation, without depending on going a software to another software to export and get the things. So this is how we work. And I guess to better understand what we're doing, we're thinking we can go through some project example we've been working on. So we want to start with a magnetron project with Romain Tardy. It's an installation that was taking place in Mexico, Puebla, in 2014. It was composed of, there is a big wheel that is actually 80 meters high. It's the biggest one, the biggest in South America. Maybe Mexico, I don't know, there's a deal about if it's South America. Okay, let's say south of US. And those two structures are 10 meters high, and there is 200 LED strip bars, and there is this huge screen of projection you had on the front and on the side of the installation. Romain, we get in touch with Romain, and he needed to control all the systems with the lights and with the projections all together. So it has to be synchronized, it had to fit with the music, it had to fit with the mappings, and we had to control all these LEDs. This was one first issue. We needed to be flexible on site. We couldn't install in the studio such a shape of LEDs. We needed to be there and be able, as I said before, to control and to edit in real time. So the idea was to create our own software to control everything. So this is Ledotron, the first version of this software we created. It has a timeline, and actually it's all real time. Romain chose the shape of these two triangles, but he was not sure about if he's going to change it or not. He was not sure how many LED bars we're going to be, how we'd be controlling, because depending on the provider, maybe it was LED strip, maybe it was different kind of material. So we decided to create this software. So all the animation is done in real time, even though we don't use the real time. We are not connecting in real time the data, but everything is real time. And Romain was giving us some timeline information, some animation he needed, and then we program every time the noise, the transition. Ça, c'est vidéo. So, so this was a way also to visualize the installation, having it 3D, to understand better. We can change how many LEDs, how many bars, how the mapping is taking place. Changing outside. Actually, there was one less bar. We just take it out, and everything was working. The exportation. My hair is sticking. There is also lights on the wheel inside the cabins of the wheel, so we could control the animation in DMX. This was LED strip, and we could connect my computer directly to the installation, and Romain could edit and change the speed, change any parameters of the animation, keeping it the way we prepared it. We prepared the animation, but he could change any parameter. We don't see, the contrast is really slow, very low. You could change the target. I mean, we create parameters. So all on the right, you have all the parameters from each effect that are one and layered one over another. And I guess I said about it.
Yeah, I think what's important here is that building those custom tools, we have a lot of flexibility, and we let the artist focus on art. And I think a project is quite successful when the artist forgets about technology and just focus on his work, and can use the software just to on the aesthetics and on the message he wants to convey. There's a little anecdote about this project that I like to talk about, because you have this very big, massive wheel, Ferris wheel on site. And it's huge, 80 meters, you can see it from kilometers. It makes a lot of light, but there's no manual on how to plug into it and to control it. But we really wanted to do that and to find a solution to do that. We searched everywhere on the internet. We asked the manufacturer of the Ferris wheel, the production on site. It was very hard to get any kind of information, but we really wanted to use this in the piece, because it's there and it's beautiful. And 3 weeks before the show, I couldn't find any information, but we were there and scared, because the only way to control the wheel and the only authorization we had was to touch those buttons. So we are thinking about someone switching the buttons inside during the show. The show is running all night. It's a crazy job. So as a joke, we started to talk about, well, let's make a robot that would do it, and because we like that, these kind of challenges, we actually did it.
Je crois que t'as remis pause. J'avais déjà cliqué.
Comment ça marche? This is not this, sorry. Ah ouais, parce que c'est là. So you can see, so it's very DIY. That's very.
It's a last-minute solution. This is the first test with Romain, with the iPad.
So we were able to control the wheel with this kind of last-minute solution that we managed to do, and we're very happy about that. And it was really interesting to do for us, this kind of challenges. And then, I mean, what's important is the results. So we wanted to show you a bit what this piece looks like. I'm just going to switch to the beginning.
No.
Yeah, if you can turn off the light. We're going to show the result. I mean, maybe it's interesting to see. I just don't have feedback of when it's going to play or not. Okay.
T'as pas de player?
I'm just going to switch to the beginning. We're gonna switch to the next project. You can see the rest online.
I was making the sound loud.
You wanted to follow?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the last 8 minutes, but you can see it on the internet.
Next project.
So we're yesterday. You've probably seen, maybe some of you, Pablo Valbuena, that is over here, who made the presentation, and we worked on a couple of projects together already, and he contacted us because he needed control lights. And it was really interesting because it was a very kind of different process of working, and Pablo is a lot into precisions of controlling lights, and we like that very much. So we worked on Girotop. You've seen it maybe yesterday. I'll show you an extract afterwards. And it was 28 towers. Each towers had 2 LED bars, and the same as speakers. So we had to control in real time the content, and it's not only about doing a video of it, because Pablo really likes to control every pixels, how the pixel look like, how the effects of it, and the video could make some noise into the exportation of it, and you don't, when you have lots of LEDs, it's very difficult to control LED-wise, so the programming in those cases is the best option. So we also use videos, we project videos on the content, which we can choose how we project, like in 3D, during a 3D thing, so we can project content, but we also generate content in real time to control the effects. And it really helps on site, because the same as Magnetron, we need to be able to test it on site. I mean, the 3D visualization helps a lot, obviously, to get some idea about how it's going to look like. But on site, it's always very different. So the speed of, if you made a rotation, the speed you see here, and then the speed in the space is really different. So Ledotron was helping us again here, and the nice things about it, because Pablo was telling yesterday about like his focus is on light and the sound he used on Girotop. I mean, is a tool for filling the space, and in that case, it was the light that was triggering sound. Not a sound over the lights, but we made a program that connected directly what the light was doing and trigger sounds depending on some parameters defined. I don't know if we can talk about it, but Cyril can give you the detail about the sound.
No, I mean, that's an interesting concept. So we had to also create a software for this to see what light is active, and this would trigger sounds, and this kind of bridge between sound and light, which was very interesting and challenging, because it's 56 audio channels, 56 speakers. It's very challenging technically, but I think conceptually as well. Like, how can you make the light control the sound, and all of them being really working together and helping each other in the perception. We're going to show a bit of this piece. So things reveal this time. Okay. This was on a construction site. Yeah, Paris.
Okay,
Nice
control
videos.
since yesterday. Okay, this is another kind of project. It's just to talk about the approach on the project that is totally different because I don't know if some of you knows about Adrien Claire performers and seen actually Mouvement de l'Air was at the Greg Festival in Barcelona last month. No, this month. And yeah, we helped Adrien, basically, well, Adrien Claire, but Adrien is the programmer part of it. And it was interesting to work with, for us to work with a programmer artist. So in this case, the approach is totally different. We're not here to propose like finished ideas, or he really knows what he wants and just needed help on the programming side of it. So we did some nice residencies with the company. It was also really interesting and nice doing some particles. We worked like on this couple of I don't know how do you say paintings like algorithm to create like this one, the sheet flying.
Yeah, well, in the introduction you might have catch that I have a musical background. I work in music. I started to study music technology as a programmer, working on making tools for musicians. And this is a project that's a bit different from what you've seen. It's not about visual; it's about sound. But I think it's interesting to see how the approach is in that case. So it's a bit the same as each time we have an artist that is coming and asking us to do something for him, and I watch a few of his YouTube videos, and this was what I saw. So that's a bit scary when someone contacts you and So that's not only what he does, actually. He does a lot of great performances. He's a very hard worker. You can't see it on the video, but he really studies his own art. He does beatbox, as you could think, and he has a very good knowledge of this of those techniques, but also how to create music live, because he's creating music with his mouth. He thinks about all the musical part of a song, and so he wanted to be able to be like a human orchestra or something, like being able to improvise any kind of music live. So that was the request, and the idea was to create any kind of music from scratch and being able to respond to the public. And in some of his performances, he's asking the public to shout titles or styles, and he goes and improvises with it. So we designed a machine and a rig with a lot of technology and iPads and plugins and things, so that he can really create music that's original and doing it as fast as possible. So here is an example of what he does, and it's very interesting to see him live. He has a lot of live videos on his website, but so that's Beardy Man, by the way.
I want to reiterate that everything that you're about to hear is being made by my voice. This system has... Thank you, beautiful assistant. This system has no sounds in it itself until I start putting sound in it. So there's no pre-recorded samples of any kind. So once this thing really gets going and it really starts to mangle the audio I'm putting into it, it becomes not obvious that it is the human voice, but it is. So I'm going to take you through it bit by bit and start nice and simple. So the polyphony problem. I've only got one voice. How do I get around the problem of really wanting to have as many different voices going on at the same time? The simplest way to do it is something like this. By dancing. It's like this.
Not bad.
Okay. We're going to talk about the last, not the last project we've done, but the last project we're going to present, which is actually lots of work on. It's called OX. We're done with Romain Tardy. Okay, where to start? It's contacted us for, it's a DJ booth. The idea was to have a machine that is able to emit visuals that Romain would have think about, but had to last 6 hours in a discotheque, and it's a big amount of materials he would get crazy to create. and this is actually, this installation is now touring in France, so I don't know, maybe it's 25
Gigs.
Shows done in festival and in discotheque since March, actually. And the idea was, the concept idea was to have these lights. It's on the next picture you see the Romain's drawing about it. So it's lights on motors. In the middle of the squares, you have the desk, you have a LED screen in the middle, you had these towers and all these LEDs around them, and we needed to control them in real time and display visuals about it. So the idea was how to generate visuals from the music. I mean, the one big issue is how to make it last 6 hours, and the basic we had in like Cyril has in music was the opportunity to propose something about a knowledge we could have access. And actually we were waiting for such a project to be able to explore how real-time music analysis can create a content, visual content that is nothing to do with the Windows Media Player.
That was the thing to avoid. That's right. It's a DJ set of like 6 hours, like she said, and there are different DJs. So when you see when the installation is playing on stage, you want to have a different feeling if the music is different, and you want some DJ to have visually different things than others. That's the kind of objective, but still it has to be in the style of the artist. I mean, we have to do Romain Tardy style with these input visuals, but no one is controlling. Only the machine is controlling the visual. So that's the whole challenge that we took, and we actually pushed more than all of the people that asked for this installation wanted. Because we really wanted to do this. We really wanted to apply music technology and how to link it with visuals. That was really an exciting project for us. So we pushed the project towards this direction, and I think it's a good example of, in this case, how technology would would allow the artist to push the limits of what he thought was possible. So quickly to explain a bit what the music analysis is doing. So we have the direct input of the DJ. DJ is playing and the installation reacts. So it has to be all audio based. There's no control, there's no VJ, no one is controlling, only the machine is receiving audio and doing things. So it has to be instantaneous, like there's music, it should react. There's something happening, there's a musical event, it should react. But also it has to be evolving in time with the DJ set and the music and the structure of the music. So we did a music analysis tool that would analyze the mood and the emotion of the music. That was my PhD study, so it was a great opportunity to use it and to make it live again. And so it analyzes the mood, if the music is happy, sad, more aggressive, and it analyzes the structure of the music at that time, if it changes a lot, if there are some kind of builds and drops in the music, the typical DJ building up some energy and then dropping it. So we analyze the energy and the dissonance, and all of this This is something that we were thinking then how to link with the visuals. So this involves a lot of work, calibration. This is based on machine learning, so there's some artificial intelligence in it. And but we actually had to use our intelligence to see how we could map the visuals to the music, and that was more Maya's and Romain's work.
Okay, so we had to use Lecrure again. so it was like a really step forward for the software to evolve, and with the real-time composition and playing and controlling, taking the data. What we had all this information from the music, and we needed to make a layout that wouldn't take away what Romain's artwork is, and make it flourish in somehow. So we developed a special dynamic layout. Not only, but most of the content is video on this project, but it's overlapping videos with a special layout we defined, and it was really the last step. It was like a chemistry. We needed to find the right formula to have the right feelings of it. So there was a lot of previous work to create the system that would allow us to have it like consistent, that can run 6 hours, that can have some interaction. I mean, the concept we were telling is like the public and the DJ they have a fourth and back. It's like in theater, you really have the public reacting to the people acting, or the DJ, and the DJ reacting to his public and maybe playing with them. And the idea was to have the machine in this triptych, like having the machine reacting. This was the organic. I mean, the organic in our work is the most interesting input we can use in technology. Calculation, mathematics is useful and is really nice.
We're just showing some examples of
the video and what was it?
Okay, sorry.
The animation, the organic input in what's digital can be really, really cold sometimes. I mean, depending on what you want to do, but in this case, as a performance show, they can last many hours. Taking the data that is something come from a human interaction is the best data we can use, because it responds to some analysis that our brains is doing and a feeling that our body is feeling. And this is for us like to express something that is respond to a specific moment, a specific time, and the idea was using the music that is our organic input, that is done in real time by the DJ, and use this data as our heart for the machine. So once we have all these parameters, we need to find out which one is interesting, which one is more interesting, like what is connected to what in the visual. So this was the last, it was a 6 months or something project, and the last 2 weeks was making this alchemy works. So it was really nice working this last part with Romain, and the day we had it, it was like, wow, the feeling is going. So it was really, really nice. We can show some.
Yeah, well, this is just an example of.
We're filming the computer.
So that was during our test. So we have. This is the 3D rendering, 3D simulation. So if the DJ applies some effect, it would directly react, follow the beat, follow the evolution of the song. And we really had a big challenge in making something that looked good. I mean, it's Romain Tardy's work, so we can't. I mean, the artist wanted to look good, of course. So it has always to be following the music and looking good. So those were the tests where we were following the beat, the mood, and the evolution of the music. And so, in order to, that's a kind of an anecdote, but in order to control everything on this installation, we had to do all the technical thing. We designed our own hardware as well. This is what Maya said before, a PCB. It's a circuit, electronic circuit that was designed for this installation to have a complete control on the software and hardware side. So it was controlling the motors and all the LEDs. And what's interesting about this thing is, I think, is that this wouldn't be possible without the DIY community, the makers, because it is something that we learn how to do online and looking at what's existing and taking pieces from different open source or free software or open hardware. So this, I mean, let us do something that only industry could do before. And so at the end we were able to control the...
And we could even have the artist doing some
soldering.
Some manual work.
It was, yeah, exactly. And after a lot of soldering, a lot of sweating, we could have the first, with this hardware, controlling exactly the motors. Yeah, it's really a living structure. It lives. I mean, it's like something that is really big on stage. And
Italic.
And this is on tour, like Maya said, and this is finished, and we are very happy that it's going around and playing with different DJs. And playing with different DJs, and so yeah, that's really a good example of something that has never been done before, technically. So we are very happy about that, and this is an example of what it looks like at the end. No.
Wait, the video.
¿Tenéis alguna pregunta? A couple of questions? Video.
Yeah, just the last
Light
one.
off.
Last one.
Last one,
That's it. Thank you.